The summer display pulsed with an impossible reading. Dr. Amara Patel pressed her face closer to the screen, her dark eyes reflecting the ethereal blue glow of the underwater monitoring station. After 15 years of studying deep-sea acoustics, she had never seen anything like this pattern, a rhythmic sequence that defied natural explanation. "Commander Richardson, you need to see this," she called out, her voice steady despite the tremor of excitement in her chest. James Richardson, veteran of the Naval Deep Sea Research Division, strode across the cramped monitoring station, his weathered face illuminated by the array of screens. "What have you got, Doctor?" He leaned over her shoulder, bringing with him the faint scent of coffee and sea salt. "Look at this frequency pattern. It's structured. Too structured to be geological or biological, at least any biology we know." She pointed to the regular oscillations that painted themselves across her screen. "It's coming from the Mariana Trench, but at a depth we've never been able to monitor before." Richardson's expression hardened. "How deep?" 15,000 meters. "We shouldn't even be able to get readings from that depth, but something down there is powerful enough to punch through all that water and rock." The discovery had come after months of installing a new network of quantum-enhanced hydrophones around the Pacific Ring of Fire. The project, officially designated as an earthquake monitoring system, had been Amara's brainchild, a way to listen deeper into the ocean than ever before. But she had never expected to hear this. "Send the data to the secure server," Richardson ordered, reaching for the secure phone that connected directly to Naval Command. "And Dr. Patel, this doesn't leave this room." But containing the discovery proved impossible. Within days, similar signals were detected by research stations across the globe. The Indian Ocean, the Atlantic, even the Arctic, all reported the same rhythmic patterns emanating from their deepest points. The scientific community buzzed with theories, while government agencies scrambled to maintain calm. Dr. Patel found herself at the center of an international task force, working around the clock to decode the signals. The breakthrough came on a starry night, when she noticed something that everyone else had missed. The patterns weren't just signals, they were changing, growing stronger, moving. "They're not messages," she announced to the cramped room full of scientists and military personnel. "They're more like heartbeats or engine signatures, and they're synchronizing." The implications hit the room like a physical force. These weren't random emissions or unknown natural phenomena. Something down there was awakening, coordinating. The first visual confirmation came from a deep-sea drone, its reinforced hull creaking under pressures that should have crushed it. The footage, grainy and distorted, showed massive structures rising from the seafloor, geometric shapes that gleamed with an otherworldly iridescence. They were clearly artificial, but covered in layers of sediment that suggested they had rested there for thousands, perhaps millions of years. But it was what the drone captured next that changed everything. A massive eye, easily the size of a submarine, opened in what they had thought was just another structure. The eye was unlike anything on Earth, compound like an insect's, but with depth and intelligence that sent chills through everyone who viewed the footage. The drone's feed cut out seconds later. Commander Richardson stood at the window of the research station, staring out at the seemingly peaceful Pacific waters. "How long?" he asked. "How long have they been down there, watching us evolve, waiting?" Amara joined him at the window, her tablet clutched to her chest. "The sediment layers suggest they predate human civilization. They might have been here since before the dinosaurs. And now they're waking up." Richardson's voice was grim. "But why now? What changed?" Before Amara could respond, every alarm in the station began to wail. The ocean itself seemed to shudder, and on her tablet, depth readings from across the Pacific began to spike. Something vast was rising from the depths, and humanity's reign at the top of Earth's food chain was about to be challenged. As the first massive forms began to break the surface miles from their station, Amara realized that everything she thought she knew about life on Earth was about to change. The true rulers of this planet had been sleeping in the deep, and now they were coming to reclaim their domain. The question was, would humanity survive their awakening? The first attack came without warning. The massive form that breached the surface near the Midway Atoll wasn't just rising, it was hunting. The U.S. Hawthorne, a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, disappeared beneath the waves in less than 3 minutes, leaving only a rapidly expanding oil slick and the screams of rescue radio channels. Commander Richardson stood in the Pentagon's Emergency Command Center, watching as red dots appeared across the global holographic display. Each one represented another emerging alien structure. "They're establishing a perimeter," he said, tracing the pattern with his finger. "Classic containment strategy." But containing what? General Diana Martinez asked, her uniform crisp despite the 36 hours she'd been on duty. Us, or something else? Dr. Petel's voice crackled over the secure channel from her new position at the underwater research base in Guam. The structures aren't just weapons platforms. They're terraforming engines. The exhaustion in her voice was evident. The water composition around each emergence site is changing. Salinity, temperature, even the molecular structure, they're remaking our oceans. Satellite imagery showed the true scale of the invasion. The alien structures were like nothing human architects had ever conceived. Massive organic mechanical hybrids that seemed to breathe with the waves. Their surfaces rippled with bioluminescent patterns, communicating in light and sound across vast distances. "We've translated some of their signals," Amara continued, sending new data to the command center's screens. "They're not just one species. The structures we're seeing are more like cities. Arcology's designed for multiple species living in symbiosis. And they're treating us like an infestation." The room fell silent as footage from a Norwegian submarine played across the main screen. It showed one of the alien beings in clear detail for the first time, a creature that defied easy description. Its body was a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, equally adapted for deep-sea pressure and surface combat. Multiple limbs moved with terrible grace through the water, while organs that seemed to be both biological and technological pulsed beneath translucent skin. "They're not just advanced," Amara's voice was filled with both terror and awe. "They're post-biological. They've merged their natural evolution with their technology. Those structures aren't just their weapons. They're their nurseries, their laboratories, their future." Richardson watched as another carrier group engaged one of the smaller structures off the coast of Japan. The human weapons seemed to bounce off some kind of energy field that rippled like water itself. "Do we have anything that can hurt them?" "Maybe," Amara replied. "I've been analyzing their biology. They're perfectly adapted to Earth's oceans, too perfectly. I don't think they're invaders, at least not in the way we think. I think they're the original inhabitants, and that might be their weakness." Before she could elaborate, the feeds from Guam went dark. The entire western Pacific grid showed massive electromagnetic disturbances. Something big was happening. "We've got movement," General Martinez announced, her voice tight. "All emergence sites are synchronizing. Energy readings are off the charts." The command center's windows suddenly darkened as if a cloud had passed over the sun. But it wasn't a cloud. The ocean itself was rising. Massive tentacles of water, controlled by some impossible technology, were reaching into the sky across every coastline on Earth. They're not trying to destroy us. Amara's voice suddenly returned, breathless. They're trying to reclaim something. I found records in their signals. They're looking for something they lost, something they'd buried here millions of years ago. We're just in the way. Richardson watched as the water tentacles began to pulse with internal light, creating a network of luminescent arteries across the globe. Whatever they lost, he said grimly, they're willing to remake our entire world to find it. The alien structures had now fully emerged, revealing themselves to be just the tips of vast underwater cities. Their architecture challenged human comprehension. Buildings that were alive, technology that breathed, and at their center, something that pulsed with a power that made nuclear reactors look like birthday candles. As humanity's military forces scrambled to respond, Dr. Petal made a discovery that would change the course of the conflict. Deep in the signal patterns, buried under layers of alien code, she found something impossible. A message, written in an ancient human language. Someone, thousands of years ago, had known they were coming. The question wasn't just how to fight them anymore. The real mystery was why they had left in the first place, what they had left behind, and what it had to do with humanity's own origins on Earth. As night fell over the Pentagon, the ocean continued to rise, and humanity faced a terrible choice. Fight for a world that might not have been theirs to begin with, or try to understand creatures that viewed them as nothing more than a temporary infestation on a world they had seeded eons ago. The ancient tablet lay on Amara's desk, its surface covered in markings that predated known civilization. The research bunker, hastily established in the Rocky Mountains after the fall of the coastal facilities, hummed with backup generators as she compared the symbols to the alien signals. It's not just similar, she explained to Commander Richardson via secure hologram. It's identical. These creatures taught our ancestors to write. Richardson's projection flickered as another electromagnetic pulse from the alien structures washed over the continent. That's fascinating, Doctor, but we've got bigger problems. They've just taken Singapore. The entire city's under their control dome now. The alien conquest had evolved over the past week. Their massive water constructs had formed crystalline domes over coastal cities, creating environments that mimicked their deep-sea homes. Millions were trapped inside, living under alien atmospheric conditions that grew more inhospitable to human life by the hour. The domes aren't meant to kill us, Amara insisted, spreading out her research data. They're converting our environment back to something specific. Look at these readings. They're recreating conditions from Earth's Precambrian era. It's like they're restoring something. General Martinez's hologram joined the conversation, her face drawn with exhaustion. Tell that to the people drowning in their own homes. We need a military solution, not a history lesson. But Amara wasn't listening. She'd noticed something in the tablet's inscription, a pattern that matched the pulse frequency of the alien structures. Their technology, it's not just advanced, it's remembered. They encoded it into Earth's own geological record. Every mineral deposit, every deep-sea current, they're all part of some massive planetary engineering system. A junior scientist burst into the room, clutching a tablet. Dr. Petal, we've decoded more of their biosignals. You need to see this. The data showed complex molecular structures, unlike anything in Earth's biology, but there was something hauntingly familiar about their basic pattern. It's human DNA, Amara whispered, but not as we know it. They didn't just teach our ancestors to write, they helped create us. Richardson's hologram stiffened. Are you saying we're some kind of alien experiment? No. Amara's voice shook with the magnitude of her realization. We're their failsafe. They knew they had to leave Earth, but they needed someone to watch over it, to keep it ready for their return. We weren't meant to resist them. We were meant to welcome them home. The bunker's alarms suddenly blared. On the global monitoring screens, the alien structures had begun a new phase of activity. Massive tentacles of living metal reached from their cities, diving deep into the Earth's crust. "They're not attacking us," Amara said, her voice rising with urgency. "They're trying to activate something they left behind. All these attacks, the domes, the environmental changes, they're all just preparation." General Martinez's voice cut through the chaos. "We've got movement in the Mariana Trench. Something's rising. Something bigger than anything we've seen before." Satellite imagery showed it clearly. A construct the size of a small continent, rising from Earth's deepest point. Its surface writhed with the same biomechanical technology as the other structures, but this was clearly different. This was their true purpose. "It's a key," Amara breathed, correlating the new data with her research. "Earth isn't just their former home, it's a lock, and they've come back to open it." Richardson's face hardened. Open it to what? Before Amara could answer, the alien signal patterns changed dramatically. For the first time, they were broadcasting on frequencies humans could hear unaided. The sound filled the air, a deep, rhythmic pulse that seemed to resonate with the Earth itself. In coastal cities worldwide, the trapped humans inside the alien domes began to change. Their DNA, carrying fragments of alien code buried millions of years ago, started to respond to the signal. They weren't dying. They were transforming. This is what they were waiting for, Amara realized. They didn't just help create humanity. They encoded their own evolution into our genes. We're not their experiment or their enemies. We're their children, and they've come to complete our transformation. As the massive key structure rose fully from the ocean, its purpose became clear. Earth's oceans began to shift, not just in temperature or composition, but in fundamental reality. The aliens weren't invading. They were awakening, and they meant to awaken humanity with them. In the bunker, Amara felt the pulse in her own DNA, calling to something deeper than consciousness. The choice facing humanity wasn't about fighting or surrendering anymore. It was about accepting or rejecting their true heritage, and the evolution their ancient parents had returned to trigger. The war for Earth's oceans had become a war for humanity's very identity, and no one knew what they would become if they survived it. The transformation of Admiral Kenzo Tanaka was broadcast worldwide. As the highest-ranking military officer trapped within Tokyo's alien dome, his metamorphosis became a symbol of humanity's crossroads. His skin had taken on an opalescent sheen, his eyes now resembling the compound structures of their returners. Yet when he spoke, his humanity remained intact. "I can hear them," he said, his voice carrying new harmonics that made the video feeds crackle. "I understand now. We've been asking the wrong questions." Dr. Amara Patel watched the broadcast from the mountain bunker, her own DNA singing with the alien frequency. She'd been fighting the change, using experimental blockers, but every cell in her body yearned to answer the call. "The transformation is accelerating worldwide," she reported to the emergency UN Council, her hands trembling slightly. 30% of coastal populations have begun showing signs of genetic activation. The process appears to be voluntary. Those who resist remain human. Commander Richardson, now coordinating what remained of the global naval response, spoke up from his position at the Antarctic backup facility. "Voluntary or not, it's an extinction event. The end of humanity as we know it. Or our next evolutionary step," General Martinez countered. The general had surprised everyone by entering an alien dome voluntarily in Mexico City. Her partial transformation had given her unique insights. They're offering us a choice, not an ultimatum. The massive key structure rising from the Mariana Trench had finally stopped its ascent, hovering above the Pacific like a second moon. Its surface constantly shifted, displaying patterns that Amara now recognized as a form of written language far more complex than the ancient tablets. "They're not just our creators," she explained, projecting her latest findings. "They're our guardians. Earth wasn't abandoned, it was preserved. They left because something was coming, something they couldn't fight alone." New data streamed in from deep space telescopes. Dark objects, previously hidden behind quantum fields, were decloaking at the edges of the solar system. The returners hadn't come back just to reclaim Earth, they had come back to prepare it. Admiral Tanaka's transformed voice resonated through the global emergency channel. The great filter approaches. The challenge that every technological civilization must face. Our parents returned to give us the tools to survive it. Amara's research team had discovered that the alien structures weren't weapons or cities in the conventional sense. They were incubators, designed to guide human evolution towards something that could survive what was coming. The oceanic changes, the atmospheric alterations, all of it was preparation for a threat that had hunted advanced civilizations across countless galaxies. "We have 18 months, General Martinez announced, her partially transformed features giving her words an otherworldly weight. "That's how long before the hunters arrive. The returners, our ancestors, they've done this before. Seeded worlds, guided evolution, prepared their children. Earth isn't just our home, it's a fortress they spent millions of years building." The key structure began to pulse with new energy. Beneath the oceans, ancient machinery buried in the planet's crust activated. Earth itself was transforming, preparing for a war that would determine the fate of not just humanity, but countless civilizations across the galaxy. Commander Richardson, still fully human, watched as more of his officers chose transformation. "So that's our choice. Transform or face extinction." "No," Amara replied, finally understanding the full scope of the returners' plan. "The choice is more complex than that. They need both transformed and untransformed humans working together. The hunters have never encountered a species that could be both." The revelation sparked a new understanding of the returners' strategy. They hadn't come to force humanity's evolution, but to create something unprecedented, a hybrid civilization. Those who chose to transform would gain the ability to operate the ancient machinery, to swim the altered oceans, to fight in ways the hunters had never seen. Those who remained human would maintain the innovation, the unpredictability, the qualities that had made humanity unique. In the alien domes, transformed humans began teaching others to use the biomechanical technology. Outside, the remaining human military forces adapted their strategies to work with their evolved counterparts. Earth was becoming something new, not just a fortress, but a fusion of two paths of evolution. Amara felt the call of transformation growing stronger, but she had made her choice. She would remain human, studying both sides, building bridges between what humanity was and what it could become. The returners had not come to erase humanity, but to help it become something greater than either species could be alone. As the first signs of the hunters appeared in deep space observations, Earth prepared for a war unlike any in human history. The oceans, once a barrier between continents, had become humanity's greatest asset. Under their depths lay weapons and technologies beyond imagination, waiting for the combined strength of two forms of humanity to wield them. The question was no longer about survival or extinction, but about finding balance between preservation and evolution. Humanity's future would be written in both DNA and destiny, in choices made not under duress, but with understanding of what lay at stake. The war for Earth's oceans had become a war for the galaxy itself, and humanity, in all its forms, would fight it together. The hunters arrived as predicted, their ships darkening Earth's skies like a swarm of cosmic locusts. But Earth was ready. The oceans, once humanity's last unexplored frontier, had become their greatest weapon. Dr. Amara Petal stood at the central command of the Mariana Defense Network, her unaltered human mind working in perfect synchronization with transformed analysts around her. The massive holographic display showed thousands of hunter ships entering the atmosphere, only to meet their first surprise. Earth's oceans were no longer just water. Quantum shield arrays active, Admiral Tanaka's transformed voice resonated through the command center. His new form, now fully adapted to both air and sea, directed the first phase of Earth's defense. The oceans themselves rose up, forming barriers of hyperdense water that shattered the first wave of hunter ships. Commander Richardson, who had maintained his human form, coordinated with military forces worldwide. "They're targeting the transformation domes," he reported. "They've faced the returners before. They know the threat we represent." But the hunters hadn't faced anything like this before. In previous encounters, civilizations had either remained purely human or fully transformed. Earth was different. The hybrid defense strategy proved devastating to the hunters' conventional tactics. The key structure, now fully activated, revealed its true purpose. It wasn't just a key, it was a beacon, calling to other worlds where the returners had seeded life. Across the galaxy, other civilizations began to awaken, joining Earth's resistance against the cosmic threat that had hunted advanced life for millennia. General Martinez, her transformation now complete, led the counterattack from the oceanic cities. Massive biomechanical constructs, operated by transformed humans and guided by unaltered military strategists, rose from the depths. The hunters found themselves facing weapons that adapted as fast as they could respond, guided by human ingenuity and powered by returner technology. "They're pulling back," Amara announced, analyzing the battle data. "Their ships are retreating to high orbit. But something's wrong. Their energy signatures are building." The hunter's true weapon revealed itself, a massive gravitational pulse designed to rip Earth's oceans away, a tactic that had ended countless civilizations before. But they hadn't counted on humanity's dual nature. Now, Amara commanded, and the plan they had prepared activated. Transformed humans across the globe synchronized with the ancient machinery, while their unaltered counterparts managed the complex calculations necessary for what came next. The oceans didn't just resist the gravitational pull, they transformed. Every drop of water became part of a vast quantum network, a weapon of unprecedented power. The returners had built this defense over millions of years, encoding it into Earth's very structure, waiting for a species that could unite both forms of evolution to activate it. The hunter fleet, caught in the quantum cascade, found their own weapons turned against them. Their ships, designed to manipulate gravity, were pulled apart by forces they couldn't comprehend. The battle for Earth became a battle for the very nature of space and time around the planet. In the aftermath, as the last hunter ships retreated or fell, Earth's oceans settled into their new state, no longer just a cradle of life, but a living shield protecting the planet. The transformed humans could now inhabit both land and sea, while their unaltered brethren continued to drive innovation and exploration. Admiral Tanaka, Commander Richardson, and General Martinez stood with Amara on the beach of what had once been Singapore. The alien dome had dissolved, revealing a city that was neither purely human nor completely transformed, but something wonderfully new. "They'll be back," Richardson said, watching the waves that now shimmered with quantum energy. "And we'll be ready," Amara replied. "Not just as humans, not just as transformed beings, but as something they've never encountered before, a species that chose to be both." The returners, their mission complete, began to withdraw to the ocean depths. They left behind not an conquered Earth, but a transformed one. Humanity had not only survived, but had become something unprecedented in the galaxy. A civilization that bridged the gap between organic evolution and engineered transcendence. As the sun set over the quantum oceans, Amara looked at the city behind her, where transformed and unaltered humans worked together, building a future neither species could have achieved alone. The mysterious black aliens hadn't come to end humanity. They had come to help it become something greater. Earth's oceans, once a barrier between peoples,